What do you want me to say? All hell's gonna break loose. It's always been, hey, we're coming to a ceasefire deal, and then they don't. Hey, we're almost at a ceasefire agreement, and then they're not there. He makes a great point there. Benjamin Netanyahu has made this very difficult for President Joe Biden, which is why it's been at least 15 months.
When you say Harris, nobody knows who that you're talking about. No, nobody has any idea. Harris. Hey, where's Harris? They know Kamala. They know Kambabla. That was the nickname I used for a while, but I don't use it anymore because everyone thought I was just mispronouncing her name. I wasn't. Kambabla.
You know the phrase, hey Joe, what do you know? Well, that's kind of what it feels like. Just 5 days before Inauguration Day, our current sitting president, President Joe Biden, will be exiting the White House. And what do you know? Israel and Hamas have reached a ceasefire. Welcome to Cozy Corner TV, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Kieran Smith. Call me Q. And we are on the corner, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the corner. And we're on the corner today talking about the Israel and Hamas ceasefire. I am sure we're all thankful for that. I know that I am. It's been a long time coming. What's it been, actually? 15 months? Somewhere around there, right? October 7th, 2023, I believe it was the start date of this war. And our current sitting president has had 15 months to come to some type of agreement. But for some reason, it has yet to happen. Nonetheless, 5 days before he is exiting the White House, it has happened. And now all the critics, all the people, all the supporters are wondering who gets the credit. Is it our current sitting president or is it our incoming president? Well, some people think that it is our current president. Other people seem to think you're completely out of your mind. This clearly happened because Donald Trump is coming in office, right? Right. Well, let's take a look at a couple of videos. I put a couple together just so we can kind of take a look at a series of events that I've been following the last couple of days. So here's what I've been following. Some things that President-elect Donald Trump have been saying about the Israel-Hamas war. And a couple of days ago, how long ago did this one post? This one was 8 days ago. So a couple of days ago, Trump held a press conference where he had one of his negotiators speak on behalf of what was going on in Israel as far as them coming to some type of ceasefire deal. I'm going to play that video. Then we also had a couple of news anchors speak about, this is Bloomberg podcast, speak about who actually gets the credit for this ceasefire. You know, was it a team effort? Was it Joe? Was it Trump? And then we're also going to take a look at another news anchor, and this was breaking news on Sky News, where we hear a news anchor actually talk about, hey, I'm pretty sure that this is happening because of the incoming Trump administration. Now, to his credit, he does mention the Biden administration, and he says they have worked tirelessly on this for 15 months. And it's worth noting that they also have failed to come to an agreement. So we're going to look at a couple of those videos, and let's jump right in, guys, because I'm excited for these.
I don't know anyone who delegates better than President Trump. He gives us a lot of authority to speak on his behalf, and he exhorts us to speak emphatically. And emphatically means you better do this, because the alternative.
Do you think they're waiting for President Trump to take office?
No, I think they heard him loud and clear. Better get done by the inaugural.
But when you say all hell before all hell.
So one of the reporters asked, hey, do you think that they were waiting for President Trump to get in office because it's so close? This was just 8 days ago. And he says, no, I think they heard him loud and clear. It better happen before Inauguration Day.
If they don't release the hostages, what do I have to define it for you? All hell will break out. If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Now, Trump says this because a reporter actually asked him, hey, President Trump, what's going to happen if this doesn't actually take place? And he says, all hell's going to break loose. And the reporter says, could you elaborate? And he says, what do you want me to say? All hell's going to break loose. And then he starts to go a little bit into depth.
And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. They should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. But there was, and many people are killed. They're no longer hostages. I have people from Israel and others calling, begging me to get, we had also people there from the United States, just so you know. They're holding some so-called hostages from the U.S. But I've had mothers come to me and fathers crying, can I get the body of their son back? Can I get the body of their daughter back? That beautiful girl where they threw her in the car, pulled her by her ponytail and threw her in the car like she was a sack of potatoes. I said, what happened to her? Sir, she's dead. Like a 19, 20-year-old beautiful girl. And the way they treated her. And I just say this very simply. Steve's got a job to do. He's a great guy, great negotiator, great person. They respect him over there already. It's what we needed over there. We have people that know everything about the Middle East, but they can't speak properly. They don't know. He's a great negotiator. That's what I needed. I could have sent that gentleman right over there, Hussein. He's a great negotiator. There are people. They're rare. Great negotiators are very rare, like a great surgeon. But we have the right person. But I tell this, I don't want to hurt the negotiation. If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Thank you. You've done a great job. Thank you.
Now, what I did think was at least somewhat gracious of President-elect Donald Trump is he tells his negotiator, hey, I'm not trying to hurt your negotiation, but I just want to be clear. If these hostages aren't released by Inauguration Day, all hell's going to break loose. Okay, now, again, we know that our current sitting president's administration has had about 15 months to work on this. So let's take a look at what Bloomberg Podcast had to say.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a couple of hours now, as Donald Trump was actually the first to take credit for it. But I will bring everyone back to the 31st of May, right here on Bloomberg TV and radio. We were live on Balance of Power when Joe Biden outlined this exact framework. This is 6 months plus old, and it's apparently just now going to be implemented. So that's why he said, is that a joke? Who deserves more credit was the answer. You or Trump, knowing that both teams were working on this. And look, the Donald Trump element here is real. You guys remember last week, the news conference at Mar-a-Lago, he stood there with his Middle East envoy, who was talking about progress his team was making with negotiators. And Donald Trump said, remember, all hell will break out in the Middle East if there is not a hostage deal by the time I'm sworn in. So here we are today. Who actually got this to become reality? Joe Biden clearly thinks it is his team that was working on this for months and months. Some of the analysts we've been talking with over the last 2 hours suggest, well, maybe it was kind of a combination of both. Either way, we do have the same framework. The first phase, 6 weeks, it looks like 33 hostages in return for 100 Palestinian prisoners. If they do not get to a permanent ceasefire in that 6 weeks, they just keep rolling. They keep negotiating is the idea here until an exchange of the remaining hostages takes place in phase 2 and then finally reconstruction. This has been a very tenuous situation, though, for months and months. Benjamin Netanyahu has made this very difficult for Joe Biden. So, Carol, to get at last to your question, the timing here is remarkable, and it recalls 1980.
And he makes a great point there. Benjamin Netanyahu has made this very difficult for President Joe Biden, which is why it's been at least 15 months.
Right, Ronald Reagan being sworn in as the Iranian hostages were released, and that's exactly the optic that Donald Trump was hoping for.
In terms of optics, is it though significant that President Biden has gotten to go up to the podium and talk about a deal being done versus this happening on perhaps Monday after President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in?
As we remember from back then, it was literally Ronald Reagan's being sworn in as the wheels were turning on this. Yeah, it's a big deal for Joe Biden. This is the one thing he wanted to get done before he left the building. And guys, he had his farewell address scheduled. It still is for tonight at 8 o'clock. He's going to address the American people from the Oval Office. And now he's going to be able to top that speech with the final claim that he was hoping to make as president.
Joe, is it indeed the end of the war, or at least the beginning of the end of the war?
You're asking
Or at
the right
least the
questions.
beginning.
The on-again, off-again scenario that we've been under here for the better part of 15 months demands that be answered. And after what Anthony Blinken told us yesterday, he spoke at the Atlantic Council saying that Hamas has replaced every member of the organization that has been killed by Israel. They have recruited that many members since October 7th, knowing that Israel's repeated attacks and the deaths of civilians in Gaza was a very powerful recruitment tool. We know that, albeit weakened, Iran still has proxies working in the area. We still have a massive U.S. military presence in the Middle East throughout the Red Sea to try to protect shipping lanes, and the three of us are not going to stop talking about that anytime soon.
Yeah, you know, they make a great point when they're asking, like, was this a team effort? You know, of course, one administration is going to say it was us. You know, he gave credit and he said, you know, this is a 6 month plus old thing that Joe Biden has been working towards. But it is also worth noting that it has been 15 months, and it seems like President Donald Trump, or President-elect Donald Trump, the incoming president, saying to them, hey, listen, if this isn't done by Inauguration Day, by the time I'm in office, we're going to have a problem. All hell's going to break loose. So I wanted to jump to another breaking news where they're talking about how much of an influence they believe Donald Trump's incoming administration actually had on the Israel-Hamas ceasefire.
Continue promoting peace through strength throughout the region as we build upon the momentum of this ceasefire to further expand the historic Abraham Accords. This is only the beginning of great things to come for America and the world. And he concludes by saying, we've achieved so much without even being in the White House. Just imagine all of the wonderful things that will happen when I return to the White House and my administration is fully confirmed so that they can secure more victories for the United States.
So he's reading basically a tweet where Trump is saying like, hey, just imagine all the great things that are going to happen when I do get back into the White House. We're going to be able to secure more victories. And you kind of see the people in the background celebrating.
As predicted, Donald Trump claiming almost total credit for the ceasefire that is seemingly very, very close indeed. And he is saying that it is only because of his victory, of his team's work in trying to get a deal that this has happened. I think it is fair to say that that is a little bit rich. It is the Biden administration that has done an awful lot of work in the background for many, many months to try and secure a deal. It's also fair to say that they have failed hitherto to secure a deal until this moment, and clearly something has changed. And as I did.
And I'll agree with him. Clearly, something has changed. I'll agree where he says it's a little bit rich, you know, for Trump to say like this is just because of my win why we were able to reach this agreement, because the Biden administration has been working towards it for at least 15 months. So we can't just assume that without any work being done for 15 months and Trump's incoming administration, they would have just froze up. But we also can see the history, and we can see that Netanyahu hasn't made this easy for our president by any means. It's always been, hey, we're coming to a ceasefire deal, and then they don't. Hey, we're almost at a ceasefire agreement, and then they're not there. So we see our incoming president come. They understand how President Trump ran the country the first time he was president. And he says, hey, I just want to be clear. This doesn't happen 8 days ago. All hell's going to break loose. And then here we are, 8th day, 5th day from Inauguration Day.
Described earlier, part of that is undoubtedly the unpredictability and the fact that Donald Trump is about to become president again. So there's a lot going on in the background. Both sides, outgoing and incoming presidential administrations, should fairly claim credit for what is seemingly unfolding now in the Middle East.
And I agree with him there. I think both administrations should take some sort of credit for this. Honestly, like I said, the work in the background definitely does matter, even though Netanyahu has been very difficult. But yeah, with also the Trump administration coming in, something's changed. And I totally agree with him. So, hey, what do you guys think about this? How do we feel about the Israel-Hamas ceasefire agreement? I'm super excited to see this. Who wants to see war anyway, right? Like, war is not a pretty picture, but this war was pretty devastating. It was ugly, and I'm happy to see it end. So go ahead, guys, light up those comments, light them up down there. Tell me what you think about, you know, what's going on with this ceasefire deal. How do you feel about President Joe Biden actually being the one to make the announcement? Because President-elect Donald Trump is actually not in office yet. So if anyone can make this announcement from the White House, it would be our current sitting president. And sure, President-elect Donald Trump could make it from Mar-a-Lago or somewhere if he wanted to. But it looks like President Joe Biden was the one to make the official announcement to the nation about the ceasefire deal. How do we feel about that? Are we happy about this? You know, do we think Donald Trump deserves all the credit? Do we think President Joe Biden deserves most of the credit? Is it 50-50? Should they be splitting this one down the middle? Dying to know what you guys think. Thank you for stopping by and chilling on the corner with me, guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves, love one another. Peace.